Hi, this is Karen Greenhouse. I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how to use the modify function on the Prizm calculator. This is a great tool to help students quickly see how coefficients impact what the graph looks like and give them a better understanding of what those coefficients mean in real life. So we're going to go to the graph menu. So we're here at the menu on the Casio Prizm, and I'm going to choose number 5, my graph menu, and I'm going to want to enter my functions. I'm going to focus on parabolas today just because that's a nice one to visually see. And I'm going to do both the standard form and the vertex form. So to get both, I could type them in, but I'm going to kind of cheat and do it the easy way. So under F4, you'll see the word tool. When I click that, I have some built-in equations. So I'm going to choose those by clicking F3, and I want the standard form of a parabola. So I arrow down to that and I hit execute, and that automatically puts that in Y1 for me. I'm going to arrow down to Y2 and go through the same process. I'm going to choose F4 under tool. I want my built-in, so F3, and I want this vertex form, so I'm going to arrow down to that second form and hit execute. So now I have both forms. We're going to work it with both just so you can see how each works. I want to turn off this second one because we're not going to use it so long right now. So to do that, I simply hit select and it turns off that equation so I can focus on the first one. So now I'm going to graph the equation, but I don't want to just hit draw where it would graph it. I want to actually hit modify because modify is going to allow me, since I used coefficients, it's going to allow me to change each coefficient individually and see how that impacts the graph. So I'm going to choose F5 for modify. You'll notice I get the equation up here. I also get the current values of those coefficients, which are all 0, which explains why my line is on 0, because basically it says y equals 0. So let's change those so that we actually have a parabola. So I'm just going to change each one to a 1 at this point. You'll notice that currently there's a pink arrow at A, which means it's the coefficient I'm working with. I'm modifying. I'm going to type in 1 and hit execute. So you'll see that's now changed my graph because I now have y equals 1 times x squared, which is a parabola with a vertex of 0, 0, which makes sense. So let's arrow down and change the others to 1 just so we can see it. So now I'm at B, I'm changing it to 1, I hit execute. What did that do to the graph? It seemed to have moved it over, slid it to the left a little bit when I changed B. If I'm a student, I might be paying attention to this. Let's now change C to 1 and hit execute. Oh, that's interesting. That seemed to have moved the graph up 1 or up. So right now I'm getting a sense maybe each one does something different to the graph. And now as a student, as a teacher, you can focus on a couple changes for each coefficient to see if your conjectures make sense. So what's A do to the graph, to this graph of parabola? Well, we have a fairly low positive number. Maybe let's make a slightly higher positive number and see what happens. So if I change it to 5, what might happen? And you can have your students make a conjecture and then quickly hit execute and they can see if they are right. It looks like it made the function skinnier, is what students might say. So you can do this again. Let's say what happens if I make it a negative number. So again, I'm still on A because that's where the pink is. I'm just working with that coefficient. So B and C have not changed at all. And let's make it be a negative 2. Let's just see what a negative does. Wow, that seems to have flipped the parabola over. So positive, negative, your students might be making some conjectures here. So you can do it that way, or you can use this, what we call step, and that allows you to move the coefficient, change the coefficient up or down by whatever step you've decided. In this case, it's 1. I can change the step. I can make it 5. I can make it, whatever number I want, but we're going to keep it with 1. So another way to change the coefficient, rather than just typing in a number, is to use the step and use your arrow keys, the left and the right, to either go up or down. So the right would make it go up by 1. So currently it's a negative 2. If I click to the right, I'm going to go up 1, which makes it a negative 1. And I can keep going up. And what seems to be happening? Oh, this is interesting. I went up 1. I now have the coefficient A is 0, meaning I no longer have an x squared. And I get a line. Interesting. So let's keep going up 1. And I'm now positive So my parabola is opening up. So kids might be getting a sense of what that A coefficient does. You can go down and do the same thing with either coefficient, the B or the C, doesn't matter, but you're going to change it now. So now we kind of get a sense that A opens the parabola up or down, makes it skinnier, fatter, as students might think about it. And so now let's see what B might do. So we've got B. Let's, again, use our step function just by clicking the arrow to the right. We're going to add 1 to B. And that seemed to make it kind of go down and a little to the left. Let's see if that keeps going. Still seems to do that. Let's subtract 1. So that's, again, we're using the step feature here, and we're simply clicking and seeing a rather quick transformation. Interesting. What is B doing to that graph? So the students are making some conjectures very quickly by simply looking at the graph. Let's check out C. So what's C if I add 1, or maybe we're just going to do real quick. So where's C right now? Let's make C be 2 instead of, well, let's make it a little bit different. Let's make it be a little larger change than that. Let's make it 4. Oh, that seemed to making C larger seemed to move our parabola up. Well, then as a student, I might say, I wonder if I make it smaller, a negative number, will it move it down? So let's make it a -2 this time. Where's it going to move? And it does, it moves it down. So now I have a sense of what these coefficients are doing my graph, and we can start really connecting that to real world applications. Let's go back to, we've been using the standard form. Let's see what the vertex form does for us. So let's hit exit, and that's going to get us back here. We're going to turn off this first graph by hitting select again, so F1. I've turned that off. I'm going to arrow down to the vertex form, and I want to turn that one on, so I'm going to hit F1, so I've selected it. And we're going to modify this, all right? So we're going to hit modify. And notice it is graphing the function at the current values, the previous values that I had left the last equation at of these coefficients. So let's go ahead and change those all back to 1, just because that's a nice starting point for us. So I'm going to change each coefficient simply by using my arrows, arrowing down to them. They turn pink. I've got a little arrow here. I'm going to change it to 1. So let's do the same thing. Let's modify each, but this time we have a standard form. So how does that maybe give the students a little different sense of what each coefficient might do? So let's just start with B. So B, let's look where this parabola is right now. It has a vertex at 1, 1, which, right now maybe I can't make sense of that. Let's see what B does. Let's make the B move to 3. We'll make it +3. What's that do? Well, it moves my parabola to the right to 3. All right, so it seems that in vertex form, that B is representing the x coordinate of my vertex. If that's true, if I made B, say, -4, my vertex should move over there. So this is, again, what students can quickly do. They can make some conjectures, and they can quickly test it. So let's see if that's true. I think if I move it to -4, my parabola is going to move over to -4. And it does. So so it seems that B in vertex form is representing the x coordinate of my vertex. Well, what's the y coordinate? I got 2 options here. I've got A and C that could possibly be it because they're both 1. So let's see what the y coordinate of the vertex is controlled by. Is it controlled by C? Is it controlled by A? Let's make a conjecture. Well, if we think back to when we were doing the standard form, when we changed A, made my parabola open up and down. So I'm thinking it may not be A, maybe it's C. So let's change C. Again, this is the kind of things that can happen with your students. They can make conjectures. They can quickly test them. So let's change C. Let's see, I want to make my parabola have a vertex at 2. So if I change it to 2, I'm guessing as a student that my vertex is now going to be at -4, 2. Let's check it out. And it did. It moved my parabola up to -4, -2. So the modify feature of the Prizm calculator is very powerful and really helps students visualize graphs and visualize how the coefficients impact the graph and what those coefficients actually mean in the equation. So a great tool. Hopefully you will have a little better understanding of how to use this. Have a great day.